Hello everybody and welcome to Outside Extra. I'm Jane, she's Ellen, and she's played Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ellen, what do you think of Assassin's Creed Shadows?
It's fine.
All right, great. No further questions. Thanks for watching Outside Extra and we'll catch you next time on the channel. All right, Ellen, that doesn't fill me with confidence from you as an Assassin's Creed fan. So what do you mean it's fine?
It's fine. Like, I enjoyed my time with the game. I played about 3 hours of it. So played the very start of the game, early the game, introducing the two characters, and then we got kicked in further down the timeline of the events of the game. I enjoyed it. There was nothing that made me go, oh, but there was also nothing particularly that made me go, oh my god.
Okay, fine. And for the uninitiated, what is Assassin's Creed Shadows in a couple of lines?
A new Assassin's Creed title set in Feudal Japan, and you have two wonderful new protagonists who I did actually really enjoy that you'll be able to switch between as you play.
I am here!
Now, Assassin's Creed Shadows, set in feudal Japan, that sounds like a good thing.
Yeah.
That's something people have been after.
Yeah, this is a thing that fans have been crying out for years. Because, yeah, cool ninjas and assassins and stuff, you know, it fits, and the vibes match. Having played it, I was like, yes, of course they should have done this a lot earlier. This is clearly a very good setting for this style of game, I think.
Okay. Tell me what you liked about the game, and then maybe we can discover what's not setting your Assassin's Creed love and heart on fire.
First off, I liked the characters. Yasuke and Naoe are just very likable. I didn't get to see the growth, like, so the beginning of the game, they don't know each other, and then when I was playing the bit later on in the game, they were sort of working together.
Those attackers, the Ronin, you smelled it too, right?
Incense. An overpowering smell. Unlike any incense I've ever come across.
So it's not like Assassin's Creed Odyssey where you're choosing one or the other, but you're going to be flipping between the two?
No, like you can flip between the two whenever you want. You can basically pause the game, go into a menu and go, I would like to play as this character now. And that usually works wherever you are in the world, unless you've gone into like a restricted area and they're like, you can't just change into the big tough guy now that you're about to do that. Now that you've already been caught.
So can you do every mission as either character, or are some missions, belonging to one character and some missions assigned for the other?
No, you can go in and choose whoever you want. But yeah, at the very beginning, their particular story missions, you have to play as them. So I do wonder if there will be more pepper throughout the game where they're like, okay, this is actually a mission pertaining to this one. But for most of the missions that I played, I could just choose whoever I wanted. I found, because of the characterization of the two characters and their personalities, that I did want to switch between the two of them. I found gameplay-wise, I wanted to play as Naoe more, because that was more, her style is more sneaky, and that's really useful for infiltration in the kind of tougher missions like that, and that's my vibe, that's how I play. But it was also really fun to go into places as Yasuke and just be like, bam, hit things real hard. They both have different fighting styles as well. So even if you're going in as Naoe, you do have the option, if everything goes wrong, to defend yourself and fight. It's just that her fighting style is more based on parrying. Also just like in the wider world as well, in terms of how you traverse the world. So there are areas of the game where like the game sort of like hints at who is probably going to be best for that area.
Naoe could reach the top of that pagoda if she wanted a challenge.
And yeah, I changed character and she was able to shimmy up that pagoda no problem. But when I got to the top of the pagoda, I wanted to see if Yasuke could do an eagle dive, because I'd already tried out Naoe's eagle diving, assassin trained, perfect, looked great. Yasuke, not a trained assassin, and his little dive was like this.
It is harder than it looks.
So there's just like these little cute touches to each of the characters. So
is Naoe more of like your classic assassin? Does she play more like, how does she compare to, say, like an assassin from Origins or Odyssey?
I think she's a little bit more kind of like early Assassin's Creed, in that you don't really, you know, she's good and capable in a fight, but your ideal thing is hide, stealth, parkour and traversal and things. And Yasuke can do that, but there was one little bit of wall which I couldn't climb up as Yasuke. I had to kind of go up to the side and go up this bit and go along and then up. But as Naoe, I was able to just go whoop, straight up and over. So she's a little bit more nimble.
So Yasuke feels more like a novel kind of character, a novel kind of
yeah,
play for an
yeah,
Assassin's Creed
definitely,
game.
definitely.
Okay.
It's this thing where, like, it's not just writing that tells you about a character and the story, and not just what they say, but what they do and how they play. And I thought that like, there's some really good characterization within how they play.
So he's not actually an assassin in the fiction of Assassin's Creed.
Initially, no. Yasuke actually comes over to Japan as the bodyguard, indentured servant of these priests who have come over to Japan. And then this lord there, he goes, I want that big strong guy to be my warrior, thank you very much. I don't know fully how he and Naoe end up kind of working together.
But she is a legit assassin as the game begins.
Her intro, her dad gives her a hidden blade, which she's like, and learns how to use it very quickly. And yeah, so she's sort of to do with the Brotherhood and such. Talking of the Brotherhood, actually, they've brought back, so people who enjoyed Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and remember when you could like see a guard over there and be like, hey, assassins, murder that guy for me.
I love
and
that.
clear it. Yeah, they've brought that back.
Oh,
And
okay.
so you can hire new assassins. Again, not 100% sure how this is going to happen. We were kicked forward in time and I had 2 assassins that I could call upon. And I had one stealthy assassin who would come in and assassinate, and then one person, she'd just come in and start fights for me. She was like kind of a big brute and she was great. And yeah, just basically would kick everything off.
This was a worthy battle.
And they're on a sort of cooldown
They're on
timer.
sort of cooldown, yeah, where you have that kind of little radial dial and it's in gold, and like you, depending on which of the trigger buttons and stuff, you can be like that and X or whatever, and they'll come and be like, yes, I'll punch up this guy for you, or I'll stab him super quick. And it was really good, and it really helped me out of a bind in several situations, so I really enjoyed that. Also, they've got a thing where on the map, if you've not been to an area and you've got a mission but you're not sure where it is, you go on the map and you're like, I would like my assassins to scout this area. And it's sort of, it'll tell you whether the mission is that area. So the mission will say, hey, it's in the south area of this particular town. And so you can hover your little cursor over here and be like, I want to find it. And then be like, here it is, it's over here. There you go, there's your next waypoint.
That's useful.
So it's sort of like, it's an extra little kind of like, hey, here's an extra thing, rather than being, okay, you have to walk to this place. There you go, there it is, just follow the little marker on a map. It's a little bit of extra, little something puzzly to do, which is nice. I do worry if eventually at one point, will it become a little bit like homework, where you're like, oh, I've got the thing, okay, now I have to open the map. Now I have to click the thing.
Okay, what else did you love?
Well, we all know I love animals here.
I've heard.
Yeah. There's animal interactions here, of course, but in this series, you know, I'm very,
I feel like
very,
you
very
can't
happy.
get away with not having animal interactions anymore
I know.
in any kind
In any
of
game.
open world.
You
Or
have
even not an open world game.
Yeah.
I feel like you take some resources from whatever else you might think you don't need and turn it into an animal like petting interaction instead. It's kind of like an essential bullet point, like a key pillar. All right, tell us about it.
Well, first ones that I came across were cats.
You're so cute.
Very much enjoyed that. Like the very start of the thing, they're like, here's the mission to go to, and I was like, cats. And they're very cute, they're very sweet, They like jump up into your hand, like the little paws on your hand. And
Wow,
they're like, "Hi,
okay.
girl." And it's really cute. And then because we're in Japan, of course, they have little Shiba Inus walking around.
We were looking this up
Big, fluffy Shiba
before
Inus.
we started recording because I was like, surely Shiba Inus are a modern invention of modern times. And it's like, no, they've been around for like 2,300 years.
My day just got better.
So shut my mouth. They're an ancient, dignified Doge breed.
Yes, you're so
And
good.
yeah, Doges in
They're
Assassin's
so
Creed Shadows.
cute. And not only that, but there's puppies.
I'm happy to see you too.
Shiba Inu puppies.
Shiba Inu puppies.
Pretty good. All right, just hanging out.
Yeah, they're so cute. And again, going back to how much I enjoyed the characters, when you go up to these animals and interact with them, Yasuke and Nae have both different reactions and different lines that they say to the dogs and the cats that, you know, gives a little insight to their character.
You are very cute.
I want to
it's
see
really
the open
cute.
world character that's like not a cat person. Because like some people, no fault of their own, cats don't like them. I want to see the open world game where you walk up to a cat and the cat's like, no thank you. Yeah. No, not at all. And just like turns tail. And
I think that there is, it'll come to me. Maybe editing Ellen will remember this, but there is a game where like you think you can go up to the cats and they're like, and
yeah,
they run
not
off.
everyone's a cat person.
Yeah.
And cats don't love all humans. We know that.
Good things other than adorable little animals. There are some quality of life improvements in this
Okay.
Assassin's Creed game. So you know that annoying thing where you have to like slowly walk behind an NPC and
Yeah,
you're
of
just
course.
like kind of just nudging the thing just
You
to
mean
walk
like an
at the
escort
right
quest
pace.
or
Not an
something?
escort quest. It's those things where they don't do it in a cutscene. What they do is they exposition at you as you're walking along.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
so
you're
they're like,
just
walk
like,
with me
so
while I
you're
tell
like,
you
okay,
something.
okay.
Fine.
They have now added an auto follow button.
Oh, that's nice.
So you can
I
press
can eat a
and
sandwich
hold.
while,
you can
while I get
just
some exposition.
follow. There you go. Or you can like move the camera
you just sort of, like,
around
tether
and
your
have a look.
character onto
tether your
whoever's
character.
walking.
They walk at the exact same
nice.
speed, and I was
Man,
like,
it took us
is-
this long to figure that out.
Love it. I love it so much.
Okay, I'm impressed. I love that. I was playing Cyberpunk recently.
Yeah.
And they had this odd thing where if you're walking with someone and they're doing some exposition, like on a
Yeah.
quest or something, and they're talking to you and you're walking with them, you can press the button to skip. I don't know if you remember, you can press the button to skip forward in the conversation, but it would also skip that person ahead in the walk. So you'd be like, skip, and they would like jump forward like 10 yards, and you'd be like, no, wait, come back.
And do not utter a word, no matter what happens.
So it was a funny different kind of following.
Amazing. In Odyssey, they brought in kind of like the RPG elements of choosing what you want to say to an NPC, giving you different
Yes.
dialogue options. There's now in this, like, some people don't want to worry about that. They don't care about it. Or sometimes, like me, they overthink it and just get into like choice freezing and just can't. I don't know what if I choose this one, but what if it,
Can you not handle a dialogue wheel?
Sometimes
Can't
on a
handle
dialogue
dialogue
wheel,
options.
unless it's like, oh, this is the obviously good option, I'll go for that.
Okay.
Like, I'm like,
Is it too much like real
but-
life?
Yeah. But what if that was the better option all along? And then
And
I
now there's
don't-
something else I have to lie awake at night thinking about the dumb thing I said.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So they found a way around that.
Yeah, so you can still do that. You can still choose your own dialogue options if that's what you really
Or-
enjoy, or you can use canon mode.
Oh,
Where it just chooses
interesting.
canon dialogue options for you,
I don't know
and you
about
don't
that,
have to think
because-
about it.
Because then you're you're saying that there is a right option, or there is a proper like
I don't
official
think that's too
option.
bad. So many times we have like games like Mass Effect, etc., and you get the DLC, and they're like, well, actually, the canon end is this because
Okay,
we need it to
yeah.
work. So most games do
No, but I
have a
hate that.
canon. Yeah, but I don't mind because then that's fun because it's like, yeah, but it just shows you that like you have played it your way. And,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
They're like, hey, well, this is this thing that we've sort of
All
like
right, I
written
don't
to
hate
you.
it. I think it's interesting
Yeah.
to commit yourself to saying this is the right. This is the
Yeah.
right option. I suppose you could kind of marry it to the idea that here are two defined characters. You're not
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
You're not really role playing a blank slate character. You're playing as two definitive, like defined characters. And here is the thing that Yasuke would say.
Yeah.
And maybe you're like, well, I want to do something else. But the game is saying, here's what he probably would say. So, okay. All right, fine. I don't hate it. I think it's interesting.
Well, let me go on to the things that I hate now.
Okay. All right, here we go.
I'm glad you said that you didn't like it. Now I've got a nice
What did
side.
you not enjoy?
Okay, everything's in a menu. Like, if you want
Explain.
to switch characters, you have to open the menu and either go into the inventory or another option screen in order to bring up the option, the little button that comes up.
Okay,
and
so
says
you want
switch
something more
characters.
streamlined, like Grand
I
Theft
wish-
Auto, where
yeah.
it's like, you
Yeah.
know, here's the
And
D-pad or whatever.
It still takes time to load between characters. So you're standing there, you go into the thing, choose to switch. You're in the Animus loading screen for a couple of seconds, and you're back in, and then you can carry on. So it's not as like boom as, you know. And bear in mind, I was playing like a not yet released version, so maybe
It might
this
be
will
faster
be super
when the
fast when
game
it
comes
finally
out.
comes out. Yeah,
They need that Grand Theft Auto, the thing that Grand Theft Auto does so slick, which is when you're suddenly up in the sort of clouds
Yeah.
in a sort of drone view,
And then-
and then back down. And that always feels like it's very fast.
Yeah.
And
It's not, it's
maybe
very
it is,
slow.
maybe it isn't. But I've never been especially frustrated by that wait.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
okay.
it's because it's an obvious loading screen, whereas that it's like you're just like, ooh, look at the world. You're seeing,
Fine. Okay, so
but
may improve at launch.
May improve at launch.
potentially. The game's been delayed again, of course. It's no longer coming out in February. It's coming out on the 20th of March. So they've got a little bit more time.
a little bit. There's just so many things are just opening up menus, and I know that's what like so many RPGs are. And I'm not averse to menus, but I'm just, I just remember back in the day not really having to think about that and just kind of like, following the next story beat or whatever.
So there's more menu-based like interaction than even in like Odyssey or
I think it's
Valhalla.
the same and they've not streamlined it or fixed it. I
Okay,
think
so
they're
it's not-
over reliant on menus.
not
It's not
new for Shadows.
It's not specific to Shadows.
Okay.
It's the thing that's sort of happening to the Assassin's Creed games where I'm like, okay, like you finish a mission and then it's like, okay, there's 3 other missions you have, but you have to open your mission screen. It doesn't sort of like maybe even like auto give you one, like the next one that makes sense.
Okay, so you want some sort of like streamlining there, because I feel like some of that is just the outcome of like the RPGification of
Yes,
basically
100%,
everything.
100%.
The RPGs that like live off of
Yeah.
menus.
Yeah.
But that's not your bag.
Yeah, I think there is like, the old school Assassin's Creed fans are still going to find that kind of slightly like, oh, come on, I just want to like
The
get
numbers
on
come
with the
out of
goal.
people. I'm asking for our good friend Mike Channel. Do numbers come out of people's head when you shoot them in the head?
There are little red bars above their heads, so there are little bars.
That's different. Okay, all right.
But yeah, it's still like it's better in that they've more obviously brought back like the assassinations. Like you assassinate someone, you assassinate them.
Okay, that's good. Mike
unless they're a
Channel,
brute.
if you weren't aware, I think his least favourite things in video games, and he will tell you at length, is
Is
when you
numbers,
headshot someone
yeah.
and like 5 comes out.
Yeah, and you're like, I just.
And that was a headshot.
But no,
Yeah.
you get
Okay.
throwing knives and stuff, and if you throw a knife at someone's head, there's a good chance that it will kill them if you've got them in there.
That sounds
Unless they're wearing a
okay.
helmet or whatever.
Right. What else do you hate?
Okay, Ubisoft, not particularly great at tutorializing. Got a little bit stuck in the early game at some points. And again, to reiterate, we jumped forwards in the game, so there was a bit where, there wouldn't be a tutorial. But
So you didn't like the tutorial. Why didn't you like the tutorial? What's wrong?
So many of the kind of like, this is what you do is like, here's a little box and we're going to explain to you. And that's also what happens a lot if you open up a menu. It's like, hey, here's how this works. Here's some text. Sit and read this text. And I much prefer games that sort of like just trick you into learning how to do stuff. So I've done that with like VR games are very good at doing that. Half-Life Alyx, I found like doing things like that, like single player linear games are very good at being able to kind of gradually be like, hey, try this, and like it's harder to do that in an open world, so they
For sure.
rely so much on like, hey, there's this button and
I think I don't envy anyone the task of like teaching someone to play a complex open world game,
And
because the
yeah.
balance between teaching someone too little and just expecting them to self-teach and discover things as they go, and teaching someone too much where it's kind of a turn off, like that balance is basically impossible, because also players will have different like tastes and expectations for what is the correct amount and correct style
100%.
of tutorializing. But that said, it sounds like you think it could have been done more kind of like slickly, like a little more kind of stylishly or
a little more stylishly,
seamlessly.
and also just in a way that meant that I sort of didn't feel like I was stuck so often.
Okay.
Next thing is I kept getting lost. I have not gotten this lost in a video game, like I don't think
Lost
ever.
in like the game world.
In the game world.
Was it an urban environment, or was it like a big open kind of rural environment?
Well, basically, as I was riding around the world,
You were riding a horse?
riding a horse
Motorbike.
around the world.
Yeah.
Motorbike in the Feudal Japan.
No, that's cool. I don't think, if I had seen horseback riding in gameplay so far, I don't remember it. So
Yeah,
okay, so we've got horse riding.
There is horse riding.
Fine.
I just felt like things were just in the world as opposed to place to sort of guide you. I did a whole video on Outside Xtra ages ago about how the different ways that games teach you which direction you should go, and I don't think that in the general open world it's utilized that much. So I really had to rely on little pointers and double checking the map on where I had to go. And then also when I was doing, the missions where you have to go to an area and then like, hey, right, here's a mission, you've got to find this person. I would get to an area, I'd sneak in and I'd be like, now what? And I'd sort of like aimlessly walk around a little bit until I like eventually bumped into a bit where I was supposed to be. Like there was a mission right at the beginning that we played where Naoe had to go in like and assassinate a guy, and she had to go to a very specific leaping off point above him, and I was like trying to find that specific point, and I sadly don't have the footage to show me being so confused, but I could see the guy and I was like, is that the guy? No, maybe not. And it was because I'd walked around and I'd not walked to this particular thing, and this thing hadn't triggered yet. And again, this may just be because it was an early build, but that happened a lot. I'd get to a compound with enemies in it, and then I'd be like, all right, what's my next
Okay,
place
so is
to
that
go?
kind of like an interface problem or like an in-world signposting
A little
problem?
bit of both.
Or isn't it just the problem of an open world game where in a more linear experience, you would walk in through the front door and then Valve could be like, going to put a spotlight here to show you where to go. Whereas in an open world game where you can arrive from like 100 different angles, it's not clear what we need to show you to kind of light the way.
Well, the thing is, there were points that did show you that. So there was a bit like I got to an area and it was like, okay, now you have to sneak in, and I kind of went around and I was like, I can't find anything, ain't there, came around, and then it was like, hey, here's a bunch of planks of wood that are all kind of lined up pointing you to this thing that you need to climb up, and I was like, great. But then like once I was in, I was like, okay, and it's just like a bunch of buildings. I've seen it done well in other games, and I will talk about that later. I'll say which game. There's probably people being like, I know what she's going to say.
I don't know what she's going to say.
But like, I just feel like it wasn't as well as I have seen it done in other games.
Wow.
And
We're hard to please because
I know.
I
I'm
want
fussy.
an open world, but also I want to know exactly where I'm supposed to go.
Well, like I'll talk about it at the end.
Okay.
One reason I kept getting lost.
Yes.
Okay. My next thing, characters' voice lines would lead me on a slight goose chase.
Okay, explain.
So in the prologue, I'm running along as Naoe, and in the cutscene, she was like, "I'll grab my father's horse," blah blah blah. And then I ran out the building, and there was nothing there, so I just kept running, and then I was like, hang on, she mentioned a horse. It says it's 800 meters away. I bet I was supposed to go back and get a horse. So I ran all the way back, couldn't find the horse still. I was like, right, I've got a limited amount of time with this game. I'll just run and just get there. I got to the point where I had been, got about 5-10 meters further in game, and then it came up with the tutorial of press down to call your horse.
So what was the problem
mad.
that you hadn't triggered the horse
Yeah, I'd not
moment?
reached the kind of like arbitrary point.
Right. And from the cutscene, you had anticipated that being like something that would happen.
I
sooner.
usually, if a game in a cutscene is like, we'll take my dad's horse, you'd run out, see the horse, get on the horse and go. Or it would tell you to go to where the horse is and then tell you where to go
okay,
for
I'm
the
with
mission.
you now. So it sounds like a sort of mismatch between what was happening in the cutscene and then what happened
happened in the
that
gameplay.
Cutscene and
Yeah.
Okay. The way one tees up the other didn't quite work. For you. Okay. And was that like an ongoing problem, or was it just this like one instance?
A little bit. So that bit that I was saying about like I had to be in a certain place to get this particular guy.
Yeah.
The reason why I hadn't clocked and I wasn't 100% sure that it was this guy is because when I got to the compound, the voice line was like, oh, I bet he's in a tower protected by a lot of people. And he wasn't. He was out in the open in a completely different part of the compound. And so I'd spent a lot of time walking around this tower.
That sounds like the kind of I mean, not to make too many excuses, you can only judge by what you've played.
Yeah.
That does sound like the kind of thing that might buff out in a bit of
I hope
like
so. I hope so.
QA testing at this point. I don't know. What do we make of all of it then?
It's all right. Like overall, it's an absolutely fine game. I think it'll be a good game when it comes out. I think the people who've been waiting for an Assassin's Creed game in Feudal Japan are going to be very pleased. For me personally, what it made me feel was rather than like, ooh, I can't wait for it to finally come out, it made me go, I want to play Ghost of Tsushima again.
Oh, well, that's a different game. That's an
Yes.
altogether different game.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, a lot of the kind of issues that I had with Assassin's Creed Shadows is because I was sort of spoiled by Ghost of Tsushima. So, like, Ghost of Tsushima, I found it very difficult to get lost. The guiding wind was really good, and, you know, I always felt like I knew where I was going. It felt really good to ride really fast on a horse. The world is based on a real place, but they've designed the landscape and the city so that, you know, hey, you go and here's the city. And they took real care with the level design. Like there's level design. Even though it's an open world, each little area is its own level for you to approach how you want. And it's not perfect, but, you know, there were the things in Shadows and I was like, why is this annoying me? And it's like, oh yeah, because I've already seen this solved. While I really do love the two different characters and the dynamic that they seem to bring, what annoys me is like when you switch the characters and it takes time. Ghost of Tsushima, you wouldn't have to worry about that because he is both of those abilities in one. So while you don't have like the fun thing of like, here's this character and this character like bouncing off each other, you lose that. But gameplay wise, you're not forced into playing as one character for a whole section. Or you don't have to like stop and wait and then turn into the other person so that you can climb up a pagoda. Like he just does it, and he's got a grappling hook, but he can also hit someone with a big sword. And if you want something that's more fluid, you're less likely to get lost, not as littered with them on the map with different things, more relaxing to get around, really. Ghost of Tsushima is there, and also I'm really excited for Ghost of Yotai, which will be coming out at some point as well. But Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's not something that I'm like, oh my god, other than the cats and the dogs.
What a kind fellow.
That's great.
Yeah, we got that.
And I love the characters. But in terms of like the gameplay, nothing has made me go, oh my goodness, it's so different.
How much of it is like fatigue? I haven't played the game, so I couldn't tell you how close it comes to Odyssey or Valhalla or Origins. If those 3 games, let's say, didn't exist, would Shadows like be something that was really exciting to you? How much is it fatigue? How much is Shadows in itself?
I think a lot of it is fatigue. I think Shadows does have a very high cliff to climb to get over people's fatigue of huge open world games from the Assassin's Creed series that are full of things that you don't know where to start. So
I feel like increasingly with Assassin's Creed, and this is anecdotal, I haven't taken a survey, so don't at me, but like people are picking and choosing their Assassin's Creed games. I mean, I'm sure there are fans out there who are still playing every single Assassin's Creed game that comes along, but in my circle of Assassin's Creed playing friends, there'll be people who are like, oh, I played this one and enjoyed that one, and I played this one, but actually I didn't have time for, or I didn't get around to playing this other one. So I wonder if that's how Shadows is going to hit for some people as well.
Maybe,
where it's
maybe.
like, oh, it's my off year for Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
it's not my on year for Assassin's Creed.
Well, like Valhalla is like one of the best-selling Assassin's Creed games of all time. Like people were like, yeah, Vikings, and I think there is something to be said with people who are like, yeah, like Feudal Japan. I love that stuff. But I do wonder, like, because it's just because the games are so huge, people can't play a huge game like that every single year. The good thing about this one is they've said that it's going to be more akin to the size of Origins than Odyssey or Valhalla.
Okay.
And those 2 games are just huge. So when I played Valhalla, it took me 3 hours to get the title screen. When I played this, it was 1 hour to get the title screen. So it's not going to be as freaking huge as Valhalla. Some people will be like, oh, but most people will be like, oh, thank goodness. I think anyway, just because to play a huge game like that around life is very difficult.
So are you actually going to play it when it comes out in March?
Yes, I want to play it. I want to get to know the characters. Yeah, play about with it a bit more. There were some things like
I say that like you wouldn't have to play it anyway.
Like for my job.
Are you going to choose to play it personally when it comes out in March?
Yes, I would like to. Yeah, because like there were also like some things like with my short time with the game that I didn't fully wrap my head around. Like there's guns and bows and arrows, and I sort of didn't know how to use them. This sort of goes with the tutorializing a little bit. Feels like you could only use them when people were shooting at you, but I'm not sure. So
sound right.
I was like, okay, I've now got button prompts saying, hey, press this and this if you want to use your arrow. But if I press them at any other time, nothing happens.
Okay.
So I was like, so I'm excited. I want to learn more about it. It's nothing to get angry about or annoyed about. It's just like, okay, as an Assassin's Creed fan,
okay,
this is more Assassin's Creed of the modern style, but in Japan.
Okay. Can't say fairer than that.
Yeah. So if you like Japan,
okay, I think you should be able to gauge what kind of an Assassin's Creed we're talking about from Ellen's face, her gestures, her tone and vibe.
it's all right.
All right.
It's fine.
Okay. All right. Thanks for telling us about Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Thanks for listening to me vomit about it.
March 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not time for Assassin's Creed to have an identity crisis. It's not time to tear it all down and start again.
No.
It's still doing good work.
No, it's fine.
But it's not a revolution.
No.
Okay. I can live with that.
Yeah. I'd like to see something different in the next game. But for now,
it's fine.
It's fine.